So, I found out I have to use this piping size. So, we are kind of stuffed here. I'll find a way, but it's not going to be easy. Low torque. Good. And it comes on late. Okay, that's kind of when I want it to come on. Now we just got to figure out... Can we add torque doing this? For a second there, 5,600 RPM, it came on exactly when I wanted it to. Okay, but now we're really down on horsepower. How am I going to add torque? So I guess the trick is just to add some horsepower and then reduce... Let's go to 85. Reduce the horsepower, then proactively. We're not gaining any torque at the moment, and we're losing horsepower. So let's go all the way up on the cam profile again, and then, I don't know, all the way up on the ignition timing. Let's see if we can gain any. Nope. So we're at much too much horsepower. Or far too much horsepower. So what we're going to do, again, go down on the cam profile because this will give us more torque, but reduce, or, well, it would have reduced horsepower. At the very least, it's doing that now, so that's good. We're still getting torque. We got 133 to get to. We're, all things considered, we're close. It's a pretty usable, well, the power band, the torque band, but, and what's wrong now? Let's see, so the headers, exhaust, well, there's nothing I can do about the headers or the exhaust, so, engine is nothing, there's nothing I can do about that. Well, actually there is. Okay. So let's go all the way up again, because I got to figure out what number got us as close as possible, and then we'll take a little bit of horsepower out. So let's keep that low, reduce the ignition timing. That got rid of way too much. Oh, wait, did we gain horsepower? I think we did. Okay, go back to the ignition timing. How are we gaining horsepower? Okay, there we go. But now the torque is going back down again, which is not what we need. If we do this, we should lose some torque as well. But what we need to do is lose a lot more horsepower. We're gaining horsepower, and I think we're gaining torque. We're gaining torque! We're gaining in both areas in all the ways we don't need to. This would be the case where you up this to get rid of some of that torque, and then because by reducing see, but we're at 150, 132 at 5,000 RPM. We're basically at 133, and the power band is okay. To be fair, though, it might actually be fairly accurate to the actual engines, because the 2-liter single overhead cam has a better power band because the torque comes on a lot earlier. It doesn't have as much torque, but it comes on way earlier. So we're going in the right direction, sort of. We just got to get that to come on later. And I'd be okay with 132.8 because that's basically 130. So let's get all of the numbers down so far. Version 2. That way, if we have to revert back, we can, and work from those settings again, assuming we mess something up, which I'm bound to mess something up. 12.5. So that's the one consistent point between the first rough draft and this. 72. So the cam profile is a bit lower. So version 1 settings, the ignition timing was 61 with the fuel mixture being the same as it is now, and the cam profile at a 76. Now we have an ignition timing of 70, so it's a lot higher, the same fuel mixture, and a cam profile of 72. So for the most part, it's the ignition timing that's quite important here. So again though, now we have, now at the very least, I've got a baseline that I can work from again. So how do we, if we lower that, okay, I guess we'd want to make it higher. Well, there you go. We got a bit more power, but we also got more torque, and we're pretty much there. What's tough about it is that, again, that torque is not coming on. Wow, we gained 2 torque there, roughly. The torque is not coming on as late as we need it to. 5,000 RPM is way too early. That's 600 more RPM to go for that. Alright, let's start over. Cam profile 72. If you couldn't tell, I'm kind of lost here as to what to do. So, we're back here. Let's go all the way up with both again. Let's start there. So I think I lowered the fuel mixture last time. Let's do both things by 1. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Dang it, I lost it. Alright. Let's get both things to 97 here. There. Okay, we're both at 94, 123, 5,700 RPM. Very much where we need to be. 5,600. We're close, but we're making both way too much horsepower and not enough torque. It might get to the point that for every 1 reduction in cam profile, we'll do 2 in the ignition timing. It could get to that point, and I'm okay with that. $72, $70. See, we're right back where we started, but we're gonna keep going. I love how complex engine tuning in this game is, but I also hate it at the same time because it's so incredibly complex. Incremental changes can make all the difference. It's how I figured out. It's how I got the power numbers that I did in the 2-liter single overhead cam to get them as accurate as possible. So here's the current problem. We're really... What we are is we're really low on torque and still really high on horsepower. The torque comes on kind of when I want it to, for the most part, but... Let's save these settings now. Because there's a multitude of different ways that we can mess with that, but I want to keep doing what I'm currently doing. Alrighty, got those numbers down, so we can keep going with this and see what kind of numbers we get. I think the version 3 numbers that I've just written down will be the numbers that get me the closest to the goal. So here's the good news. We're starting to get a lot higher in torque here and a bit lower in horsepower. So we're getting closer to the end result, or at the very, no, not the end result, the desired result. We're getting closer to that, I think. It's starting to look bad here. We're at the power, but the torque just is not there. And so now it comes on within 200 RPM of the target, but isn't where we want it. As far as maximum output. Okay, we're back in the horsepower ring. Good. we're gaining and losing horsepower, and it's the same deal with torque. We're gaining and losing torque. I think we're at the point where we're not gaining anymore, we're just losing. No, 1. Okay. We don't have the torque that I want, but it comes on really, really late. And that is what I want. Okay, there is no good change here. Maybe, nope. I'm trying to mess with the fuel mixture in accordance with everything else. Okay. That did have a change, and that was not the desired change. So we're going to go back to this. I'm thinking... Well, that's 158, so... We just need a lot more torque. The power's also pretty high, but we really need a lot more torque. So we're at 123, we're at 125 now. So what we got to do is not risk where it comes on. There, you see? So let's see if we can do that. Okay, that makes it go the wrong way. That goes the right way, and we gain 1 bit of torque. Once again, this is just all about, for the moment, getting the torque to come on as late as I want it to. And so now we're really... Okay. If we up this, can that push it further? It pushes the power, it pushes both power numbers up, but it doesn't push the RPM any further. So, here's the problem we have now. Power is pretty close. We'll save this as a version 5. And yes, I can count. I'm skipping 4, but that's because I don't really like this version, but... I just don't know what to do. So we can't go up, we can't do anything with that one, so let's start messing with these 2 settings. We're getting torque, good. We're getting horsepower, bad. Okay, we can't... Mess. There is no winning. Okay, then down for a bit more torque. Okay, that's good, but... Can we go up on this side? No, we can't. Wait a minute. Well, that's good. 7,000 RPM. That's sort of what we need. So, after a lot of fiddling, I finally, roughly, got the power numbers that I wanted. 150 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and 133 pound-feet of torque at 5,100 RPM. The torque number, as far as when it comes on in the power band, is still way too early. It's 500 RPM short, but we cut 200 RPM out of the power, which is accurate. So that's why I decided, you know what? It's fine. We'll leave it. That is a fairly good trade-off. And we have a half-decent power band. We have some usable torque here. It comes on later. In fact, let's see if I can... I need to go back and see if I can compare the two. Let's get this and grab my 2-liter single overhead cam engine. I think this is I believe this is the right one. Use the engine. As you can see here, much like in the real engine, the 2-liter actually is more stout in the lower RPM range, but then it kind of peters out here. But thankfully both have some usable power in between like 4,500 RPM and then nearly 5,500 RPM. However, the 2-liter dual overhead cam obviously has a lot more power and a much higher RPM limit. So, there we go. This is as close as I can get the engine, or at the very least as close as I'm willing to get it right now. We ended up having to change the quality of the exhaust. We bumped it up to +7. The ignition timing was 64, so kind of advanced, and the fuel mixture was actually the same as it had been normally. The cam profile was 71 with the quality at 7, and then the bottom end stayed at 7 as well. So I hope you all enjoyed. This took a lot longer than I was intending. And then I was intending it on taking. It kind of took a bit of a lunch break as well while I tried to figure some stuff out and fiddle around. If you enjoyed, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe, hitting the little notification bell. That way you're notified every time I upload.